Good morning, Mike. What's up? What's up
What
from Abu
is
Dhabi
going
to
on,
Perna?
Austin? Yes, still in the Abu Dhabis. Still in the Abu Dhabis. I extended it a week. Couldn't be happier with the decision.
Yeah, it's funny. You and I talked about that, and you were like, "Oh, should I do it? Should I not?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course you should. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You got to fly halfway around the world. You're in Abu Dhabi because you got a brand new niece, and you're
Yep.
spending time with family, right?"
Oh, absolutely. And then, so today, my brother-in-law was gracious. He booked an archery like lesson and then contest. Right.
Yeah.
I already texted you the stats.
By the way, how did that go?
All right. So out of 200 possible points, I did get 98 points. Right. I did get 98.
Bravo!
Time.
They'd make you redo kindergarten. But anyway,
That's right.
Congratulations.
Such a jerk. But thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So I'm remedial, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then, wow, we've got food here.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then James got a 104. So it's
All
a little
right.
better. And then my
By the way,
sister got a
that's 158. Woof. Oh,
158. Dude, she
158.
smoked us.
I can't imagine she's rubbing that in your face at all, even a little.
Not even. Nope. She's a gracious winner. She is not a gracious winner.
By the way, James, I think James is over there in the background. If it makes you feel any better, last weekend I went out and shot a 104 on the golf course. So, truthfully, I don't know what's worse.
It could go either way. Yeah.
It could go either way. Yeah, I agree. Well, good morning to everybody, and welcome to the real estate Q&A.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
Let's do that.
I don't know what we are. I bet you we're really close to the year anniversary of doing this, Mike. I bet you this is about today, maybe last week, maybe the week before, somewhere in there. We've been doing this a year. We've been doing it ever since COVID hit and we got locked down. And what's interesting, reflecting back on that, Mike, it's really interesting. So one of the things that we say to the group all the time is, did you just take a picture of your food?
Oh my God, I did. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, show us the picture now. Yeah.
Okay. Hang on. Here you go. So there's the picture. I don't know if you can see that.
Show us the food.
All right. I'll turn the whole thing. Well, the picture was good because it also had, the coffee and my brother-in-law, everything. It was so good. Yeah. Here you go.
What did you get?
It's called English breakfast. Is that right? Afternoon tea. It's called afternoon tea. It has nothing to do with breakfast whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah. So the gentleman came over and James was like, "Hey, we would like afternoon tea." And he said, "All right, let me check, make sure we still have it." And they did. And he said, "Great, bring it." And then they brought this whole thing. Like there's tea, but there's also like 4 layers of food.
Awesome.
Awesome. Actually, I feel like a hobbit.
Yeah.
Just eating through the day.
Just eating all day.
Yeah. Like this is like afternoonsies or something.
Yeah. For those of you that aren't nerds, Hobbit is Lord of the Rings, and apparently they eat throughout the day. I don't know. Maybe they do. I saw the movies. They do?
They do.
Okay.
100% they do. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Anyway, so we've been doing this real estate Q&A about a year. And so I'm Austin Pothast. I'm the director of sales on the team, and Mike Perna is our CEO. We've been doing this. It really is. It does look great. I agree with Jennifer.
It does look great.
Right. It's about a year, maybe a little bit more than a year, right? We might have missed our anniversary, Mike. Anyway, and what's interesting is we started this when we first got locked down with COVID within real estate. And look, we were finding a lot of our clients had a lot of anxiety of what was going on, and there was just a lot of misinformation flying around. And what's interesting is even the longer that we do it, Mike, the more we just find that there's all this information. I don't want to say it's misinformation. There's just all this information that flies around. And so what we aim to do is provide a really great resource for you folks to be able to ask questions directly to us, and we'll give you really straight and candid answers about what our feeling is. And so as we're doing this here today, throw in your questions there in the chat. We'll make sure that we get to them. And really nothing's off limits. So, don't get weird, but nothing's off limits. Throw it in there. But anyway, a year. Mike, kind of reflecting back over the last year, we had. Do you remember being on some of these national calls? We would get invited to national calls to be guest speakers, like panels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we would talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, and everything was changing so rapidly. I mean, especially here in Michigan, where we were under more of a lockdown than most of the states out there. I mean, Washington State was kind of first, and they were 2 weeks ahead of us, but not as severe. And then we went right in there directly after that, March 23rd, and didn't come out of that until May 7th. But it's like from a week to week basis, there was an evolution on what we could or could not do real estate sales wise, right? I mean, right there, like the first 7 to 10 days, we couldn't even have a closing, right? We couldn't even close it. So if a deal was supposed to go to closing through no fault of the buyer, no fault of the seller, no fault of mortgage, no fault of anything, we literally could not close somebody. And that put families on the street, which was not the intention of the governor or the government. It wasn't. The intention, of course, was safety and getting those protocols in place. And then rapidly, about day 10, they opened up what they called significant financial transactions, which allowed for closings and things of that nature. Not just real estate, but real estate was under that umbrella. Yep. And then they started opening up in-person showings. What was it, about a month after that? We had to pivot and do just a massive number of virtual tours. What are you pointing at?
Yeah. When did they start allowing in-person showings? Like
May 7th.
It was May 7th. Yeah.
Yeah. May 7th, we started the in-person again. And even then, it was a very limited thing, right? So like if we had a first-time buyer and they wanted to bring their parents with them, we had to do them as separate showings and all of those things, right? So it's still a very, very different way of conducting real estate than before. And even now, we're still seeing that with our open houses, where we're limited on the number of people, number of families, number of people with different last names, essentially, in the home at one point in time. We're seeing that ourselves with our own sales team, where we're trying to get back to some in-person prospecting, talking with our clients and our consumers, our trainings, and we're still limited in scope to only 20 or 25% of our total team in the office at any point in time.
Yeah, we've had to do a lot of interesting things to work around it. And by the way, it's kind of all been good. It's been different, but it's been good, and it's been a way for us to really look at how we're doing things. Like, for instance, we're limited to having so many people in the office. So we're doing that, once a week, we'll have a certain group of people in, right? And we'll do that. Another thing, you brought up open houses. Mm-hmm. Mike, you've done an incredible job of setting up the open house team. For instance, we're a traditional open house might be worked with one agent. And in this particular case, we're now working open houses with 2 or 3 agents, because what'll happen is we've got one agent that'll show someone through the home, and we've got another agent for the folks that are waiting in line to be able to give information and chat and help them out, right? And so just little things like that. Yeah, we've moved a lot of our coaching and training to an online format. It's been incredible. As a matter of fact, our director of coaching, Sadie, look, people like, it's so incredible. People try to buy our training program off of us. We've done a really good job with that. But anyway, as it pertains to real estate, there's a million little things that we've had to change. But as it pertains to real estate, it's been a heck of a year, kind of reflecting back, hasn't it?
And it really has. And as much as it's changed, I will note that it's very largely the same, right? I mean, the basic construct of a real estate purchase or a real estate sale is the same. You know what I mean? There are a couple of different bumps in the roads now. There are a couple of different things that we need to accomplish, especially around the COVID, right? And about some of those requirements. But fundamentally, I've got buyers that want to buy homes, sellers that want to sell homes. And between those 2 points, we just give the best service we can. Because it's still real estate, it's still people. There are going to be bumps in the roads. There are going to be inspection issues. There are going to be appraisal issues. There are going to be COVID holdup issues. We had one where we had to delay the closing again through no fault of either one. But a buyer had gone under quarantine because he had tested positive for COVID 2 days before the closing.
Sure.
Who knew that this would even happen or be a thing a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever that looks like? I mean, how could we have explained that 2 years ago to a client, like, hey, this isn't the flu where somebody can just come in and go to a separate room. Like, this is an actual required lockdown quarantined item at this point, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great comment. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to throw that up there for a second.
Sadie is a rock star.
She is a rock. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I've got two things on my mind. One piggybacking off of last week, and then kind of a separate real estate conundrum that I've been kind of monitoring for the last couple of months that I think is going to the positive. You want me to start out with that?
Yeah, let's roll. Yeah.
Okay. So, two things are on my mind lately. One, general investing, right? Looking at the stock market and having great conversation this week about things like PE ratios and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So generally speaking, on a stock, and we can all agree that the stock market is greatly undervalued, and that's where we should be dumping every dollar, right? I just got the look
that's
from the guy that does that. Yeah. But I mean, something like take a look at like a typical price to earnings ratio that you're looking for is, let's say, 13 to 15x, right? 25 if there's a belief by the investors or a belief by the market that this company is just going to balloon and be amazing, right?
Yeah.
Tesla's at 125x today. And its stock is not at the highest, not by a long shot. It's 175 points off its peak, right?
Yep.
Now, and this is, again, nothing negative to the stock market whatsoever. I have a fair bit of money in stocks as well, right? I play the market, which some would consider gambling. But real estate in and of itself, one thing is fundamentally true about this is over a long enough period of time, real estate values go up, rents go up, right? And you're always going to come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And I want the key on that because, and again, I'm not a put all of your eggs in one basket type of guy. I have rental properties. I have, stocks, bonds, mutuals, ETFs, right? All of them, right? I have a whole basket of investing. But what I think some people may be missing out on is that portion of it where they may be going deep on, let's say, the retirement account specific to ETFs or some sort of a targeted date fund, which is great. Mm-hmm. But you can also use your 401ks or your SEPs with which to buy a rental property, right? And then you can pre-tax dollars put that money back into your 401k. So what that kind of looks like is, and we were talking about, this was kind of a thought I had after last week's conversation on rental properties, that 20 to 30% down that we need to go buy one can be a little bit of a steep check to write sometimes, right? Especially right now where your average property in Metro Detroit is on approach to 275,000. It's a big number, but you can actually use the funds with your 401k or your SEP to use that as the down payment. Have that 401k actually buy the property, and then the income that you're making every month from the rents, your net, goes right back in the 401k.
So what he's referring to, you guys, is a really advanced strategy called a self-directed IRA. So a 401k. So in the way that this looks is you can there's certain companies where you take your IRA and you can pull out all the money and you can buy a property. Now the IRS is really, and here's what I would say is, if you have interest in doing something like that, it's a bit of an advanced strategy. If you have interest in doing something like that, there are some dangers around it in the fact that like everything that you earn on that property has to go back into that IRA, or you're going to get tagged by the IRS and it's going to be steep, right? So you really got to do it right. You got to be on it. It's not this is an advanced investing strategy. And I think your overall point with this, Mike, and I think it's really well founded, is look, right now, a lot of folks are staring down, what do I do with my free money? What do I do with my excess money? Because I could put it in the stock market, but just like you were saying, the price to earnings ratios are 5 times what you want them to be in some cases, like in Tesla's case. Mm-hmm. I could buy things that pay dividends, right?
Sure.
Right. I could buy some things that pay like an income, a dividend.
Well, and let's talk about that as well, right? So there are some very good dividend producing stocks that are achieving, 8, 10, 12, in some cases 15% dividends per year, which and again, I'm not a financial planner. I don't want to put anything out there, but except for my own opinion. So just take this for what it's worth with a grain of salt. But I think if you've got a dividend producing stock that's giving you back a return of 14% on the dividend, not on the price going up, not on total return, just the dividend, there's something wrong there long term.
Agreed.
That's my own opinion. Right? And some of those REIT stocks right now, AGNC, OXLC, ORC. You can look all these up; they're all there. You'll see some extremely high-paying dividends, but you'll also see some. Also, if you go back 5 years, you'll see some of the most volatile stocks on the market.
Yeah, there's some real risk on the high dividend stuff. It's like someone with bad credit buying a car, and they end up paying a 15% interest rate instead of a 3%. There's a premium that's paid for risk, right?
Now, if you're looking at and again, just throwing this out there as one man's opinion, if you're looking at a good builder stock that also offers a dividend, Pepsi Cola is a very good stock that offers a nice return on investment and has also outpaced the market for the last 3 decades. Darden Restaurants is another.
Buy Pepsi, everything. Buy Pepsi, everything. My wife Pepsi.
That's true. Yeah, and I wasn't saying that because of that, but it's true. But like Darden Restaurants is another one, right? Like if you look at the stock price history of Darden over 20 years, if you bought it 20 years ago, between the increase plus the splits, your actual dividend on what you bought it for 20 years ago is at 6-7%. Which again, we're not necessarily lighting the world on fire with returns, but we're also not putting ourselves in a high risk position.
Yeah,
right.
Potentially. Now, with this caveat, look, if you've got excess money to invest, you talk to a financial planner and you build out a portfolio that works well for you. Don't take our advice. We're trying to make a broader point here. Don't take our advice on stock picks. That's not what we do. But it's a bigger part of a bigger portfolio. And I think what you're getting at is real estate's part of that portfolio.
Well, and let me ask you the question, Austin, because I mean, you're a landlord. I'm a landlord. We both own property.
Yeah.
During the last down market, when real estate values just crashed out and everything, the stock market crashed out and everything, did rents go up or down?
Well, yeah, the rents always go up over the long term. We saw a peel back like during the height of the recession. We saw a peel back in rents.
Yeah.
Like a $1,200 property rented for $1,100, like just because people couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Or you offered a better rent so that you could get a more qualified client, right? You incentivized a more qualified client.
Yeah, which is a strategy. Yeah, and that's a strategy that we talked about last week. Feel free to review the tape on that. But no, to your point, yes, we saw rents go down 10 to 15%, but that's about it. We also saw the stock market go down 30 to 50%, depending on where you were looking. We saw real estate itself go down 50% or more in some cases. And 5 years later, like 2009 was that turning point. 2014, we were almost all the way back in appreciation. 2017, we hit that number again.
Uh-huh. Yep. And we've already blown past it. Yep.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. All right. That's good. What else on your mind? Sorry, I kept interrupting you.
No, you're good. My point on this is I do believe in having a diversified portfolio, and you hear that all the time. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Buy this kind of a fund, buy some sort of a NASDAQ fund, encompassing fund, buy an S&P 500 fund, buy a Russell 5000 fund, all these things. When you're talking with your financial planner, ask the question, okay, outside of this, what else should I be looking at, AKA real estate, right? Because that, I believe, is a true diversification. Yep. Yeah. Second thing that's been on my mind is, frankly, new construction. And I'm going to talk about that just a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
So we saw new construction come to almost a dead stop for about 2 months, and now it's actually moving forward at a very rapid pace again, just in the last 30 days. And here's why. And there's 2 basic reasons. We saw lumber prices literally triple, right? And for a very brief period, quadruple, but literally triple from January 1st to March 15th, right? Now, I've been monitoring this, and right now, lumber prices are 78% higher than January 1st, not 400% higher. So it's been coming down for the last 25 days or so, and now it's coming down even more rapidly as the supply is starting to catch up, right? And what had happened was very simple. A lot of the lumber mills and a lot of companies in general, they started pulling back on their production going into COVID, thinking, okay, consumer demand is going to go way down across the board, right? And in some cases, it was true. Retail sales of, let's call it, work clothes or dress clothes, sure, that went way off kilter as work from home became a thing, right? But if you look at the total clothing market, it was only down 8%, because what went up were, I don't know, yoga pants or whatever people wear when they're, whatever pants you're wearing right now, or maybe not, Austin, I don't know. That's
I'm wearing pants for the record, everybody.
Okay.
Shout out to Joe Chidiak on our team.
That's it. So my point being is we saw a lot of products where manufacturers said, hey, we better tone down our production lines because we don't want to have all this excess inventory. Because when you have too much supply and not enough demand, what happens to the price? It goes down. Right? But actually the opposite happened. Like look at Target or Walmart's earnings and their sales reports. I mean, Walmart experienced I think first quarter of the year they put out something like a 5 or a 6% increase in sales quarter over quarter per store, which is amazing.
It's a crazy number for Walmart.
Yeah.
Like it's a crazy number. Yeah.
I mean, for as big as that company is, moving the needle 0.5% or 1% is a huge number, let alone 5%. Target earnings reports are again off the chart again for another quarter. So that's what we saw with lumber. Now at the same time, and again, manufacturing is not only back, but it's bigger than it was in the United States for several different reasons. One of them being this whole computer chip issue. So now we've got several more plants that not only are open but are expanding, right? Because we want to be able to make these chips internally. And so now we also have a labor issue, and more specifically, a skilled labor issue.
Yep.
Right. So in the United States, we have right now around 7.5 million skilled labor people. Let's call them electricians or carpenters or contractors or whatever that looks like. And to fulfill the current job roles that are available, we actually need about 11 million. And that's a problem, right? But here's the thing. Trade schools are starting to put people into the street working again, right? Skilled people that can build these homes. Labor or lumber prices have come down over half from that peak that everybody was making fun of it.
Yep.
2 months ago. Now, with the high demand for housing and the low construction homes, we talked about that, on one of the other Zooms where we were off kilter, just over 20 million homes over the last decade. I do think we're going to get to a place where we're going to surpass our typical 1.1 million homes per year built. We're actually going to see, and this is just American ingenuity, when demand goes up, Americans will find a way to fulfill that demand and make the buck, as they should.
Yep.
That's what our country is built on. I think we're going to get to 2 million homes built per year, each year for the next 5 years. Like way above normal, right? And honestly, I think that's a good thing because it's a good pressure relief valve. So new construction, I think, is not only on the horizon, but it's something definitely worth looking at, especially as lumber prices are coming down and contractors are becoming available. Right. And we have several clients ourselves that have been looking at it now, whereas last quarter of last year, first quarter of this year, it was almost off the table because of the pricing.
Yeah, I also think you can see them starting to build properties in like a quote unquote more affordable range.
True.
Like a lot of the new construction, because the margin was so high, there was a lot of like $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes in new construction, especially your areas like Northville and Novi, and even out in Macomb and in Rochester and kind of places like that. You'd see those higher price points getting built, and we're seeing a lot more. And again, this is still a pretty healthy price point, Mike, but we're starting to see more like $300,000 and $400,000 homes built.
Yeah, which is great, which the market definitely needs, 100% needs. Yeah,
because a lot of the people that are going to buy a $400,000 or $450,000 new construction are living in a $250,000 home right now. You know what I mean? And it's and they're ready for that next step up, right?
Yeah,
they're ready for that next step up, and so the pressure relief goes all the way through. Yeah.
No, and that's absolutely the truth. And then the other segment of the market that I'm seeing that's starting to come to play. We had millennials wait a little bit longer than normal as far as our home purchases go, right? We saw the first time home buyer age fly all the way up to 32 years old, right? At one point, it had touched 26 years old. That's a big difference. Now these guys are entering the market. They're entering the market with more dollars, and they're able to buy into close to a second-time home or into a second-time home first.
Yep.
And that's another phenomenon that we haven't seen before. Yep. And part of that is because
they're also willing to pay for. They're also willing to pay for like they'd rather pay a little bit more oftentimes for the house to be in like perfect condition. So we see that a little bit too. And by the way, that's not true across the board though.
That's not true across the board, but it does happen. It does happen, right? And again, I'll use my sister and brother-in-law as the example, right? Because they're fairly typical, right in that space of home buyer that I'm really talking about.
Yep.
Maybe a couple years up, but we'll use them. So,
Yeah.
my father's a master electrician. I've got trades all up and down my family lines. I'm fairly well versed in real estate, hopefully, and I got some good connections. And these guys were looking, potentially moving stateside again. And so the question was, hey, could we buy a home at a lesser price or a lesser price per square foot? Really, get in there, buy the ugliest kitchen available, buy the ugliest bathroom available, buy the the crappiest backyard or whatever that looks like, and then go in there. And because we've got the connections, we can make all these things great and do it exactly like we want. And honestly, they're in the position where they have the cash to decide with which to do that. The pushback on it is from my sister's side, who has all the trades available, right? Is no, I have a baby. I want to move in. I want to sit down. I want to turn the TV on. I want to enjoy my family.
Yep. Pay the money.
Pay the money. I'd rather mortgage it than deal with being.
It's a conversation I had with a client this week, Mike.
Yeah.
I said, Jennifer, great question. I'll get to it in a second, or we'll get to it in a second. Yeah, I had said they were getting frustrated because they got beat out on a couple of offers, and I said, well, let me ask you this: would you rather buy something? Would you rather buy a home for $500,000 that you might end up paying $530,000 for, right?
Yeah.
Or, right, because they really didn't want to overpay for a home. That was their words. I don't want to overpay. Well,
right. Don't want to overpay.
An asset is worth what someone's willing to pay for it, for the record. So
that's all it is.
But anyway, I said, or would you rather buy a home for $450,000, but you got to put 50 into it? I'm open either way, and I'll help you either way. What would you rather do? And they thought about it, and they said, actually, we'd rather put the money into it. I said, great, let's go look at some homes with some wallpaper on them. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. I've got a comment on that wallpaper that I'll get to in a minute as well.
Yeah.
Wallpaper's
kind of coming back though.
That's it, right? All right. So it's called, what is it called? Glam Millennial? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
No, that's a thing. I know it's a thing.
We put some wallpaper in my daughter's room. It's like the stick and peel stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. Grand Millennial. Okay, so there's a new style, or not new style, but it's a style that's coming back called somebody help me out with this if you know what I'm talking about. Throw some comments in on this thing. But Grand Millennial, like some of the things. Yeah, look it up. No, it's a real thing. I promise. There's a whole Pinterest on it and everything. Yeah. You see it? Wow. So this is the style, this is my sister's style, right? So this is where they've got more of a modern look right now. And over time, my sister is shifting all of the belongings in the apartment to this Grand Millennial style.
Really?
Yeah, she loves it.
Share it. Let me share it. Hold on.
Wow, Gina loves this. James is going to be in for a treat.
All right, I found a blog. Is this it?
Yes, that is it exactly. There we go. Let's check out this Grand Millennial style.
It's terrible. It's awful.
Is this where it's at, Gina?
This is where it's at.
No, it's not. No.
You don't like that?
No, not one bit. Mike is just full of it.
I may be.
Oh, you don't
but
like it. Got it. Mike's being full of crap. Got it. All right, got it. That's it, huh?
Yeah, and to Jennifer's point, what's old is new again. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you supporting me on this one. Yeah. Gina said that doesn't mean us. That like what's old is new again does not mean us, apparently.
Nice.
Oh, happy birthday in 4 days, by the way. Is it 4 days? 5 days?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
No, I'm the 31st. I turned 40.
I thought you were the 27th. Oh, for some reason in my mind, I thought you were the 27th, 31st. Yep. You got time.
I got to tell you, man. So we both turned 40 in the next 30 days. Yeah. Good Lord, we look good. Good for you.
Yeah, we look good.
Good for me.
We are two good-looking gentlemen out on the street.
Look at you go, man. Look at you go.
Hey, if this is 40, I'm loving it. I'm just saying.
Nothing hurts that bad. I'm doing okay. I might be a little chubbier than I want to be, but that's all right.
You know, I went climbing, hurt my shoulder. It happened. Yeah. I'm not bouncing back as fast as I used to. It's all right.
Yeah. Someone gave us a laughy face. I love it. All right. When someone buys a new build, is there a fair amount of equity the owner will have in the value? I mean, I guess my first question would be, how long do you plan on living in it? If you're asking, do you walk in with equity? I mean, probably not. I mean, maybe a little, but not enough to matter.
Well, and it's changed, right? I mean, and new construction has changed, and how it's been treated, like everything else. So the down market kind of played a big reset button on a lot of different things. Keith, I love you. I'm going to put you up in a minute. So it used to be, okay, so let's take like where I grew up in Farmington Hills, right? So at that point in time, new construction was just going mile by mile, working itself in a westward direction out to Haggerty Road, right? And homes that were built, and it was commonly thought that homes that were built that were newer, they were, for whatever reason, better. I mean, and it's an opinion, not a fact. It's some people like old homes, some people like new homes, some people don't care. Like I don't care. Like I mean, from the homes that I've had, I'm actually progressively getting older as time goes on, because I want a specific location. So in Farmington Hills, for example, homes would appreciate faster that were newer built. And then once new construction hopped over to Novi, that started happening as well, right? But then when we got to South Lyon, that didn't happen anymore. They just appreciated at the regular rate that everything else appreciates. And we're seeing the same thing in Rochester, Oakland Township, Shelby, Macomb, I said Oakland Township, Washington, Lake Orion, Clarkson, Independence. We're not seeing homes appreciating at a greater rate. Now, what we are seeing is sometimes people that are getting into a neighborhood in the beginning, and then as the 2-year build goes on, the lot prices or the premiums go up or the base numbers go up, so they can see their equity. But that's equity that would have happened anyway, right? Yeah. In a normal market, let's say prices go up 6%. Let's just say on an even keel market, right? What we would generally expect. So if you buy a $500,000 house, the next year is going to be $530,000. In a new construction, like 300 unit neighborhood, you can see it. Because then the next year, the builder is not charging $500 anymore. He's charging $530, and the next year he's charging $565 for the same house that you bought 2 years ago. It's just that you can see it more. I think that it's more tangible versus more of a standard neighborhood.
More in your face. Yeah, like you can actually see it. Yeah, agreed. You know, one of the things that we talk about is look, when you're buying a home, price, condition, location, you basically get 2 out of 3. So like if you want to get new construction, that means it's in the best possible condition. And if it's in a desirable area, you've got the best possible location. That means you're going to pay a high price for it, right? And if you want something with a lower price, you either got to buy something that's in a quote unquote less desirable area, whatever that means, or not lakefront or not golf course or whatever. Or something that you need to do a little more work. I mean, but that's the equation. That's the lever that we're pulling, and we're trying to figure out the right equation for each one of our clients. And a big part of what we're doing is we got to take the time to listen to what's important to them, and then know which lever to pull. Right? For some people,
and that's really all it is.
Yeah, you're gonna get 2 out of 3. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Well, and I was gonna say, Keith, I mean, hey, if I'm looking like you're looking at 42, I'm a happy guy. You're a dapper looking gentleman. Thank you.
Keith, you're all right. No, I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
He makes it happen. Come on.
You look good, Keith. You look good.
Yeah. But no, and you're absolutely right. And you know, like, okay. And let's take a look at some of the towns, right? So look at like a downtown Rochester or a downtown Northville or a downtown Romeo or a downtown, even a downtown Farmington, right? Yeah. You've got some wild price per square foot in those towns for homes that are over 100 years old. Right? Because again, it goes back down to location and desire. There are a significant number of people that love the ability to walk to downtown Plymouth and not have to cross Sheldon, let's say, right? Or cross back, right? They would rather not get in their car and drive 1.5 miles. They'd rather pay a higher price per square foot or a premium, have an older property that might require a little more maintenance or whatever that looks like, but they can walk out their front door, make a left, and they're downtown.
Yep.
And that's okay. And it's just up to that person, right?
Yep. We see it all the time on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
We see it all the time on the lake.
That's a great example. That's a great example of that. Yeah, go ahead.
It was a 2-bedroom home that sold on our lake last year. It probably, had it been off the lake, it would have sold for 250,000. It sold for 600. It's like
Yeah.
great lot on the lake. It's, it's just, you see it all the time on the lake.
Well, and we had one, right? So I kind of did an experiment earlier in the year, just because I do this kind of stuff, and I'm crazy about marketing.
Yeah.
So we had a home that was on the lake that from the front, it just looked like a standard 3-bedroom ranch with a 2-car attached garage. Looked like every other home in that city, right?
Yep.
And it was on a lake. But that's what I put up as an ad. I also did a second ad, but I just wanted to see what would happen. And man, dude, I got some nasty comments, like actual nasty comments, like, "Who do you think you are, charging $550 for this home?" Blah 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 blah. Like, it was bad. But that weekend, we got half a dozen offers.
Yeah, lake.
Because the lake effect just balloons those values.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's a good one.
Yep.
Speaking of new construction, what should an agent do to help someone who's interested in a custom build or the options end at buying a lot?
Can we talk about Rashiko's Dragon first?
I do like the Dragon.
That Dragon is sweet. Should I do something with a custom build or the option? No, I think a great agent is walking through side by side with the client all the way through the new construction process.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit different of a sale because you want to get the new construction rep involved, because they're oftentimes a little more knowledgeable, or they know the customizations that you could do and all that. So it's a collaborative effort, but you really want to work side by side with somebody and make sure that they're kind of, I guess, kind of like a guidance counselor almost, Mike, like kind of side by side with somebody,
there's kind of two ways to tackle this one. The way that I've done it most commonly in the past is I found and helped them interview the builder first.
Yep.
Right. So actually, like as an example, a couple years ago, I did a great build with Sapphire Homes, right, over in Bloomfield.
Yep.
God, I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. Yeah, it'll come up if somebody Googles it, I'm sure. But a really great dude, builds like 3 homes a year, right? And honestly, just a really great guy that loves putting out a great product. And so when we had called several builders, part of why we landed on this gentleman, I want to say his name was Randy, but it's not. But part of how we came up with this was we said, hey, like one of our qualifying questions was, would you mind if we walked through one or more homes that you have built in the past? Right? And I was looking for 2 things with that. One, I wanted to actually see the home and what he had built in the past and see if it was actually quality construction. I wanted to make sure that, like in that price range, it was a 2x6 build, not a 2x4 build, right? Which means that which is good for sound deadening and some other great and some insulating things and, efficiency. There's reasons for it. Don't worry about it. We'll get into that some other day. But more importantly, this sounds really odd. I wanted to know, did he do a good enough job that his past clients from 2 years ago weren't pissed off at him and would allow us to walk through that home?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds like the oddest thing in the world, but one of the builders just flat out said, no, I'm not willing to call my past client and ask. I'm like, okay, cool. Then you're not the builder for me. He might have been a great builder. And I even asked the guy, like, hey, is it because they would say no? Because if that's the deal, just be honest with me and tell me. And he just said, no, I just don't want to bother him. I'm like, okay, that doesn't jive. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. Second one that you want to definitely look into with any builder. Well, okay, so now we have the builder, right? When we're looking at the builder contract, I want to pay attention to the fine print, more specifically any price increases due to undue circumstances that are automatic. Because I've seen a couple of builders put that in there before. Lumber's a good example, right? Where we're seeing some real estate clients where home prices have gone up 20, 30, 40,000 on them, and there's nothing they can do. Because in the fine print, it says that the price of this home is also based on the cost of this, and this, and this. And a lot of times builders will name a couple of things like, they used to be copper, but now it's PEX, right? But it used to be the price of copper, variable, price of lumber, variable, price of this, variable, price of that, variable, whatever that looked like.
Yeah.
And they would literally just tack it on and pass it along to the consumer, and there's nothing that we can do about it because we were in a contract. Now, I always want to make sure we're checking the fine print for that kind of a thing with any builder, because I don't want those those passed along. In addition to the fine print, a lot of times builders will give themselves some sort of an escape clause if they're not on time. Okay, and I'm not going to mention the name of a builder, but there was a builder that was building a home for one of my past clients, right out of the down market, and he had an incredible product because he had picked up a couple of lots on the very cheap, and so he can actually build. He could afford to quote unquote build a nicer product than all the competing builders, and not to be offensive to the guy, but I'm like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Do you know what I mean? Can we drive a couple like can we look at what else you have in progress and things like that? And he said yes, and we did, and it looked good, and I was like very skeptical, and I just said, you know, like this is I don't have a good feeling, but they went ahead anyway, right?
Yeah.
And what should have been a 6 to 8 month build took about 2 years. So they literally were not in their home for 2 years.
It's a long time.
Yep. And the builders just kept running short on money. They kept running short on their contractors because they underpaid them. They kept running short on all of this stuff. And it was in the fine print that it will take as long as it takes with other circumstances behind them. And one of them was contractors, right? If they can't get a guy to work on the house today, that's okay. They bump back the closing day today. I'm not kidding. Now, I won't even say most. I will say every builder I've ever run across has had some sort of a delay in there, saying, hey, this is our target date, but we can be up to 30 days behind that. And that's normal because there are circumstances outside the builder's control, such as, and again, I'll use South Lyon for a hot minute, their building department, which is essentially open 2 days a week, or used to be, now it's open more. They were so backed up. It wasn't the typical 10 to 14 days to get plans approved. It was running upwards of 40 days.
Yep.
The guy can't pour a basement if he doesn't have an approved plan to pour a basement. That's beyond the builder control. 100% beyond the builder control. And a good builder will keep you appraised of that situation as it happens. Getting back to that as well, one thing that I recommend people do is also have a those are some good new construction horror stories. One thing I always impress upon my clients is, hey, you definitely want to get a home inspector in there as well at specific points in the process, right? Because you've got a couple of different things going on there. You've got what the cities or the municipalities require, right? Which is one level. And then you've got a second higher level of what you really want, right? Because the cities are going, and it's not being negative to the cities in any way. We get some
right. They want safety. Yep.
Yeah, they want safety, but they don't necessarily require a high quality. And I'm going to be honest, they're humans and they're overworked just like everybody else. So they miss stuff, right? And I'll use my parents' house as the example. So when my parents were building, and they built with a company called Mill Creek, very good builder, did a great job. He a multi-generational builder, does a great job. 2 things were missed on all of the homes on that street, right? One of them was the upstairs bathroom connecting the vent to the outside. So the stack pipe was there for the fan. So like when you take a shower, you turn the fan on and the moist air gets pulled up and it gets shot to the outside. There was about a 6-inch gap between the 2 pieces of PVC, right? All of these homes. So the moist air just went right onto the insulation, and over the course of a couple of years, mold developed. These are new properties. Mold developed, and in a couple of houses, the drywall collapsed in. It just happened. And it was just an oversight by the contractor, oversight by the general manager, the builder, and an oversight by the city. All 3 people missed it, right? My parents' home didn't miss it. They had a home inspector that I recommend them use. And yeah, sure, it cost them $600, but it saved them a heck of a lot of hassle later on, right? The second one was whoever was that was installing the washers, right? The dishwashers. I know what happened. What happened was whatever company he had out was thinking the builder's actual direct contractors will do the hookups, and the builder's contractor was thinking, oh, the company that's coming out to install the dishwasher will do the hookups. Turned out nobody did the hookups. So several people started the dishwasher for the first time, walked out the door to work, and the water just dumped everywhere.
Can you?
And then those wood floors had to be pulled up and put back down for several houses. Now, did the builder do it? Sure. But it's a 2-3 week hassle. You know,
Such a hassle.
it's such. I mean, just the hassle factor alone. So I do recommend that people get a good home inspector in during this process. I don't care what builder you're going with, right? You could be going with the one-off builder, the specialty. You could be going with Pulte or Toll Brothers or somebody that has a reputation for building a ton of houses and doing it both fast and decent quality. But I want to be sure that we're protecting you on that, right?
Yeah.
And then the last one, of course, is home sale contingencies. Most builders right now will allow you to put in a little bit of a flex close date, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because I've seen, and Austin, we talk about this all the time, where we have a target close date, but then we also have an oops close date because we always want to set expectations with clients. So right now in real estate, there are things beyond anybody's control that the government will suddenly do, or the Fed will suddenly change, or Fannie and Freddie will suddenly require something this week they didn't require last week. So the closing on Friday needs to be kicked a week because of this new condition that nobody even had heard of before.
Yep.
Right? This is just a life we're living in. So we say, okay, we're going to target this date, and it could be an extra 7, maybe 10 days past our target. So we want to make sure when we're setting up this contract with the builder that we're working on your behalf. So we've got a flex date on the other side as well. So the builder understands, like, okay, we're going to do our final mortgage closeout with you, and you'll get your final payment, but it may take up to an extra week because Fannie, Freddie, all of these guys that are beyond our control, something might happen. And most of the time, if you go past 2 days after a builder's close date, they start charging $100 or $150 a day.
We just had this happen to a client, and they got,
Yeah.
God, they got dinged up for like 30 days. We were able to negotiate to get half of it back for them, but it was like,
yeah,
it's really wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is all real stuff. And
this actually is a bigger point, Mike. I keep going. Sorry. I'll make my point at the end. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just put a pin on this. So I'm not going to, I mean, I know we only have a few minutes left, so I don't want to go too deep, but there's 8 or 9 other things that I've got that is in my purview to look out for with the client. That's beyond the things like, hey, that's a pretty granite. Yeah. Maybe we should move this wall over here. Or no, we should put this fireplace on this wall instead of this wall. Like, that's all nice, and that's all great stuff, and that's all great for helping somebody out for resale. But I'm more worried about, hey, this new construction process, if we muck it up a little bit, it could be a $15,000 to $50,000 hit, right? Like, just if we get the wrong lot, and it doesn't, and let's say we are in a place where we need a septic, and we didn't do a perk test, or we didn't do a proper perk test, because there are companies out there that are not great at those as well, and they'll tell you something perks and it doesn't. That's a $20,000 difference in a lot of cases, to between $10,000 and $20,000 for an engineered field versus a regular field, right?
Yep.
These are all big things. And I mean, you can trip and stumble on any one of them, and it's 10 or 15,000. You trip and stumble on any 3 of them, you're 50,000 out. So yes, a good agent that knows what they're doing will always earn their commissions on new constructions 100% of the time.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because this is actually a bigger overall point. Sometimes I think clients are like, my agent is there to find my house, right? Or my agent is there they just put it on the market and it sells, right? And the truth of the matter is that, look, the way that data about real estate, just like in the car industry, has changed over the last 20 years. And the truth is that although the data that you're getting, like on Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever, oftentimes is a few days delayed, it's reasonable data. We have access to some data that you don't, but you have access to a lot of the data. Where we really, really, really matter is all of the nuance and all of the pitfalls and all of the negotiation. And I'll tell you, I was able to turn a phone conversation last weekend into an extra $17,000 for my seller. Like, sorry, that more than paid for my commission, right? Yeah. And it's because I've been doing it a long time, right? Or same kind of thing. Like, Mike's talking about scenarios where if you don't have the proper representation, a mistake when you're buying a $300,000 asset can easily go to 30 grand really quickly. And so we're not perfect, but it's a protection mechanism. You know what I mean? And it's the same kind of thing. Look, let's pretend that you made a legal mistake, and I'm not suggesting that anybody would do this, but let's pretend you got popped for a drunk driving ticket or something like that, right? You made a mistake, you made a bad judgment call. You're not going to go on LegalZoom.com to find representation. You want an attorney that knows the judge and knows the lay of the land and knows and that's what you're actually hiring, because when you make mistakes in real estate, they're big mistakes, right? We can help you get around that. Anyhow. Soapbox over. What's Keith have to say?
All right. So Keith is talking about Macomb, Chesterfield, maybe a little Harrison, maybe some Shelby, Utica, maybe some Washington. He's absolutely right. New construction is popping up. It is popping up like wildfire. Now, Keith, I will say this. I did see a momentary pause in Q1 with a lot of people jumping into new construction because builders all of a sudden flew their prices up. And I forgot who I was talking to about it, but an agent was telling me like they walked a client in, and the next week they walked a client in again, and the same house was $40,000 more, and the client was like, "Nope, that's fine. We'll just buy an existing at that point." But I'm also seeing a lot of that ease back off. So I don't think that it's that home buyers do not want to buy new builds. I think quite the opposite. I think a lot of home buyers, if they're in the position where they can go 6 months or go 8 months, then they're fine buying new builds. And they're fine paying a little bit of a premium because it's a brand new property and they don't have to do roofs or windows or anything like that for 20 years. They'll probably not live in the home long enough to see any of that stuff come up. Statistical probability. I think it's that we had a momentary shoot up in pricing that went not a little beyond the market, but way beyond the market. Mm-hmm. But I would wager a guess that if anybody walked into some of those neighborhoods now and said, "Hey, talk to me about the last 3 weeks," the builder reps would be like, "Yep, we're on fire right now. We're on fire again. Yep. Our premiums are coming down. They're getting back down to a reasonable place. They're starting to find some good contractors so they can start promising, instead of a year out delivery, 6 to 8 month delivery again." And those are kind of the two big things, right? Because you don't want to overpay egregiously. It's okay to pay a little more for a new build, again, because of some of the cost savings on the other end of stuff that you're not going to have to do. Mm-hmm. But you also want to move into it at some point too. Like in the next 6 or 8 months, not in the next 18 to 24 months. You're not buying a house to live in 5 years down the road. Yeah. Yep. So I don't think there's an aversion to it. I think there was just a momentary disruption of it, if that makes sense. Yep. Uh-huh. And then the other side of it is we finally got back to the point just in the last quarters, the last half of last year, where we actually hit our pre-recession levels as far as new construction goes, as far as building starts. Because frankly, there was just a lack of builders for a long time.
Yep.
They got out of the business.
Well, they got wiped out. Yeah, I mean, they really did.
Yeah. And then this one's a good one. Hey, Chanel. Happy Saturday, Michael and Austin. Not such a question, but I need an empty lot surveyed in East Detroit. Unfortunately, I was told the city does not come out and do this, and was quoted $4,000 by a company based in East Point. Please point me in the right direction. Yeah, $4,000 is way too much. And depending on what type of survey you're going for, it could be anywhere from about $200 to about $1,800, just depending on what type of survey you're doing. Or what is required by the purchase contract, or what's needed.
By the way, let me throw this caveat in. I don't know what's on that property. Like if there's old storage tanks on that property, or there's old, I don't know what's on that property. So $4,000 actually might be reasonable. Depending
it might be reasonable. Yeah. Especially if it's multiple lots you're splitting out, and you got to redo all the sidewall numbers and all that. Yeah. Shoot, I have a go-to on the east side. I'm going to look that up right quick.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, I got it. All right.
Hey, Chanel, do this. Oh, you know what? Yeah, find it. See if you can find it.
I got it. I'll get it.
Okay.
I'll just take a second.
Really good questions. What other questions you guys have? What other questions do you have? It's a really good question. Really good question.
Oh, there it is. Chemtech. Kemtec. That's the actual name of the company. Chemtech. They've been around forever. They're a good one. They've done some work for a lot of my clients at some point in time. And then as well, actually, I'll throw that in there. Might as well throw it in the chat while I'm at it. 772. And then the second one that I've used in the past. Yes, there it is.
There it is. Good.
There we go. CE Rains and Company. So where Chemtech kind of leaves off on some stuff, CE Range will pick up. I would probably call both and just give an overview of the situation and just say, hey, what kind of, not going to hold you to it, but what kind of pricing you're looking at? Because they both do different types of surveys as well. So one may be significantly more expensive because it's not a type that they regularly service, but they're trying to get the business. And sometimes that happens in life. So call both. They do different things. That's a good question. That's a real good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice comment.
What'd they say?
That's all very reassuring. Thanks so much for all the information on what we can still provide there.
Yeah.
As agents, helping new construction clients.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And then here's one. All right, Josephine. I know someone who's buying a home and the close date is going about 1 month prior to the time the buyer can occupy the home. Realtor told them this is fairly common, but seems odd to me for many reasons. How can a buyer do a walkthrough prior to close if the seller is still in the house? That's a great question. So the way that we do it, I'll tackle this. For us, it's a
First of all,
simple.
Josephine, incredibly common. I'd say 90% of closings have this. But yeah, go ahead, Mike. It's what's called occupancy. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so for us, we essentially do 2 walkthroughs. We do one directly before the closing. We do a second one when the key turnover happens and they're moving out, right? Because hopefully there's also a deposit there that's secondary to the actual purchase contract, but a damage deposit for the sellers renting the property. If that makes sense, $1,000, $1,500, $500, whatever that is, right? So the key there is making sure that we do both of those walkthroughs, because we also want to make sure before the closing that there isn't like some sort of a massive damage or a change, and that's important. And chances are, because they haven't moved yet, nothing has changed. But again, I use the words chances are because I've also seen it before.
Yep.
You do this long enough, you see everything. So I would advise you to tell your friend, do both walkthroughs. Do the one before the closing and the one when they turn the keys over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredibly common. So yep, here's all you're doing is you're closing on the home and then you're giving the sellers 30 days to move out. And yep, you just do 2 walkthroughs.
Yeah.
And I would say 99% of the time it goes fine. And every once in a while you just run into a weird one. Like we ran into one. We had a client last year that it was on the contract that they had to leave the blinds. The sellers had to leave the blinds, and we represented the buyers. So when the sellers moved out, they took all the blinds with them. Well, look, if you've ever had to buy blinds for your home, it's $500,000. It's like a lot of money, right? In some cases, more if you get custom and all that stuff. And so we had to go back and work it out. And I mean, we literally had to come to the point of like, hey, look, nobody wants us to go to court, but if you go to court, you're going to lose, and you're going to lose not only this, you're going to lose court costs. So can we just bring the balls back, or can you give them some money to get this fixed? And so they did.
Yeah.
They did. They wrote a check.
It is what it is. Yep. And then
but
well,
99% of the time, it's no problem. I mean, like maybe you get someone that on their way out the door scratches a wall or something. Like that's usually about the extent of it. You know what I mean?
I have just so you're aware of what's happening exactly over here right now. I do have a little lady. Her name is Mia, and she is looking at me and she's smiling at me, and I really enjoy that. So sorry for all the faces I'm making, everybody.
I love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
That's really
She's very distracting. She likes distracting when I'm on Zoom.
It's really good.
Yeah. All right. What else we got, guys? Oh, we're about time, aren't we? Man, that flew today, right?
It really did. It really did.
I had a lot of words. I'm so sorry, everybody. I had like all the words today.
You had lots of words. I was just letting you go. It was great.
Yeah. It was funny. My brother-in-law and I were sitting here, and he's like, hey, what are you gonna talk about today? And I'm like, no idea.
My wife asked me the same thing. I go, I don't know. We've been doing it so long. Whatever questions come up, you just answer them. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. If there are no questions, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah. Which is priced PE ratios. Way to go.
We went to PE ratios. We talked about how buying and selling stocks is actually gambling.
Yeah.
Yep. We talked about all of that. We talked about diversifying the portfolio. See, I say that because my brother-in-law is in this part of the business.
At one point, someone had their cell phone in front of them, and you were talking about PE ratios, and they just.
That's it.
By the way, last night, Mike, we took the golf cart to go get ice cream.
Yeah.
And my son fell asleep on the golf cart on the way back from ice cream. It was hilarious. I had to carry him upstairs.
Oh, that's nice.
It was good. It was really cute. Remember falling asleep as a kid in the car and your parents having to carry you?
Oh my gosh. It was so good. It was so uncomfortable because like a lot of times you only had like that armrest and then you're like trying to, at least with my parents had that minivan with the one armrest.
Sure.
Or you're trying to like get the head like between the seat and the window. Yeah. Totally uncomfortable.
To fall asleep on a golf cart and have someone carry me upstairs in the bed.
Yeah.
I would do anything. Well, let's put a pin in it. Yeah. You want to put a pin in it?
Let's do it. All right. So we talked about new construction. And again, guys, call, text, email, any questions, anything you got on any new construction. We are more than happy to help. And there are a lot more pitfalls than what we went over today. I just went over some of the bigger ones, but there are more. And we do want to make sure that we're properly protecting ourselves when we're going to look at new construction and purchasing a home. Right. And Keith, you're in the business. I'm sure you can attest to that. You've probably seen this every single month. Like, why didn't this person hire an agent? That would have gone so much smoother.
Yeah.
Just being completely honest. Or why didn't they ask the agent, hey, do you have any experience with new construction? Because then it would have gotten smoother. We talked about diversifying portfolios. We talked about land surveys. What else did we talk about?
I don't know.
Is that everything?
That was about it. Yeah.
We talked about Tesla.
Talk about Tesla stock a little bit. Yeah.
Did that.
That's about it.
All right, guys, that's all I got.
Well, let's do this then. Let me just end on this, Mike, and I like to end like this. The Mike and I talk all the time, and we think yes, the vehicle in which we make a living is through real estate, and in the actual thing that we do every single day is we help families, whether it's the people that work for us or for the organization, whether it's the people that the clients that we help. This is a families helping families business, and the fact that look, we're going to help this month. 150 families buy and sell homes, and I can't tell you how grateful we are of that in all of their families and entrusting us. And we appreciate it, and we appreciate. There you go, Rashiko. He gave an apple to the teacher right there. But anyway, so we're so appreciative. We're so grateful. Thanks, Jennifer. We're so grateful of all you guys. And look, and I just think if more people, not to get all kumbaya, but if more people just focused on, hey, how can I help? How can I help my neighbor? How can I help another family? The whole thing is better. And so that's what we focus on doing. And the vehicle in which we do it is buying and selling real estate. But truthfully, we're really grateful and appreciative of all the families that we help. Right, Mike?
Dude, thank you. You took the words out of my mouth, and you're absolutely right. It's our passion, but it's our passion to help families the best that we can. Right. And sometimes that's through some hard truths and some hard honesty. And sometimes that's, again, just being honest with somebody, saying, hey, don't buy this. Yes, buy that. I think you might be making a mistake here. Don't forget about this over here, guys. I see a trap over here coming. And that's okay. And I don't know. I know a lot of people like I don't want to go negative on this, but like the yes man service. You're not going to get that here. You're going to get our honest opinions with which to protect your family is the best.
Yeah. There it is. Mike, you've had a lot of tea this morning.
I had a lot of tea. I had some, I had a lot of coffee.
Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Crystal.
Crystal. Yeah. All right, guys. Enjoy the day. Thank you.
Yeah.